what I need is 2 sheets of fabric. It's going to fold over a couple of times there. We're going to have a zip there, and we're going to have an embellishment, but actually it's going to be the leatherette that's on the outside. So grab your zip and then measure, so from where the stopper is and when it's fully closed, where the slider sits on this side. And I'm going to take away my seam allowances. So what will happen is when I sew the seams in and I bring this together, have the zip on the outside like that, and then I'll put my little bird there. And then if you want to, draw your seam allowance on there. With leatherette you can't use pins because you will cause permanent marks in your fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these wonderful pegs like here. When we make this project, so I've got my seam allowance along there, I need to leave a turning hole, and I'm going to leave a turning hole on this long side. So if I put a couple of marks, it doesn't matter how big I make it, as long as I make the turning hole large enough to flip the fabric around. So again, because it's quite thick fabric, I need to make sure I've got a nice big turning hole. Let's see how big I've gone for. About 10 centimeters. Because I'm using leatherette, it's quite a thick fabric, so I'm going to increase the stitch length. As always, I always say use a good thread in your machine. So I've got this Gutterman. If I just twist that bottom, it releases the thread for you, makes it really easy. I need to make sure that I am using a needle to suit, so I'm going to use a 90. I'm going to pop that there so that when I remove this needle, make sure use a screwdriver, that I don't lose it down below. And there's a peg, there's a stopper just at the top there that you need to hit your needle on. And what I'm going to do is bring back the seam guide back to 1. And then release. There we go. Right, so let's cut the corners away so that we have less to push through in the corner. And I'm going to reduce some of that bulk. Let's just grab the far end. So if I just turn like a sock and pull out each corner, there we go. There we go. So we need to press this. I'm going to wear my finger gloves. These are excellent because it means I won't scald my fingers while I'm pressing. I'm just going to get a pokey stick to poke out this corner. There we go. See how close I can get with these fingers. The steam doesn't bother me. And if you have your clapper, just press that on top, and that really is going to help hold the corners down. All right, so I've popped a couple of pegs here just to hold that seam down about there. And it really doesn't matter where you do this. So if I pop a peg there to hold that in place, and then do the same on the other side. Well, I'll leave that there for the moment. And what I'm going to do is open the zip up, and I'm going to actually peg that on so that the zip is very close and above the sewing line there. And I need to replace the foot in my machine to a zip foot. There we go. So here's a zip foot, and what happens is when we install the zip foot, it can sit right up close. Can you see? to your zip teeth, and the needle goes in this area here, up and down, and that slides forward, and you get a nice neat zip. And that shape there at the bottom, can you see that ridge there? See that ridge there? That hovers this section above the zip teeth, so it doesn't squash your zip teeth. We grab the zip on the fabric. We need to be close to the zip teeth there, don't we? To place that there so that I can get the needle in this side here. Put the presser foot down, and then I can lift the machine up like that. I'm going to remove this peg and lift up the presser foot, and we're just sewing a straight line. We're not doing anything special. We're just going to keep the feed dogs on the fabric and the zip foot on top. So we're testing this machine out. I've not done a zip on this machine, and I've certainly not used thick fabric. So I've got 2 layers, thicknesses of this, and 2 thicknesses of cotton. Now, in theory, a machine costing this much struggles, but we're going to see if this one does. So let's go forward 3 stitches. Okay, and then go back, all the way back, and then we're going to sew for the rest of the way. And I can see it's struggling to get going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle down, and can you see how the foot is sat at the back there? What I need to do is I need to lift that foot up. Otherwise, I'm going to be stitching in the same spot for a while. So I need to lift that foot up. And the best way to do that is leave your needle in. And do you remember that piece of fabric I had earlier? I'm going to fold it over twice because that's what I've got. Actually, I'll fold it over 3 times because I've got 2 layers of cotton like that. Lift up the presser foot, and I'm going to place that underneath the zip foot. And what it does is when I put this down, you see how I butt it right up close to where I'm sewing. Put that down, and it's lifted up the foot there. And I should be able to carry on sewing. There we go. So I'm going to keep sewing with the edge of the zip foot up with the zip teeth. Bring that out. And there we go. That was really nice and easy. Stitch very, get your stitches very close. There we go. Let's do the other side, and I think we've got a nice straight line. Whoop, went a bit lopsided there, but otherwise we've got a nice straight line. Let's try that again and see if we can do it a bit better on the other side. There we go, beautiful. Right, now all we need to do is flip it round, peg this down like this. We need to remove the zip foot. So once you've removed the zip foot, you can place your regular zigzag foot or your standard foot, whatever you want to call it. Leave that there. And then we're going to sew all the way down now. We've got 4 layers of fabric of this thick stuff now. Okay, so I'm going to put 4 layers of that there, ready to tackle this. There we go. I'm going to place that there. Now you're just going to come forward and lock those stitches. So let's see if this machine can handle this amount of fabric. Oh, sounding good. So we need to go back. Forgot to do the lock stitch. Okay, let's go. Now, can you see how it starts going forward even though I went all the way back? It's because the stitches are already in there now. So the machine is being pulled by the thread and the thrust forward. So let's go all the way down. Now, can it go over the zip? Let's see. Let's not break any needles. Yes, easily. Not a single problem there. And can it go all the way to the end and lock those stitches? Now what I'm looking for now are even stitches all the way through my sewing. Let's release that from the jaws of this machine. And you know, actually that's not too bad. They look really neat. Apart from the lopsided sewing, they've come out quite evenly. Wow. I'm going to go over this other side, but before I go over this side, I need to make sure that the zip is open, otherwise we lose the zip. Pull. So we need to make sure that's open. Plenty. Okay. And then I'm going to pop a peg there, so I can remove one of the other pegs actually, because I don't need the support on that side, and pop it there. Right, there we go. Not too close, otherwise they overlap. And then let's start again. So grab, because we're going to go uphill, so let's put that one in first. So use the thrust of the presser foot. Okay. Now it's going to get in the way of these, isn't it? The tail ends of my zip. And it went over the zip fine. And there we go. Let's lock that. Oops. I had my foot still on the presser, on the pedal. That's why we had that extra beep. And then all the way to the end. And there we go. We can release that. And that's pretty good. Not too bad. Not too bad. All right. So let's take these pegs out that need trimming. And then take away. I'm going to use my paper scissors to take away the zip ends that we don't need. Let's pop that on. There we go, all nicely finished. I need to use it to put all my Necchi bits and bobs in. I don't lose them.